Um, tonight in online theater, Marissa Tomei
Ooh.
and Oscar Isaac are doing a live performance of a play called Beirut from 1987. Uh, uh, and you have to buy tickets. Tickets are $25. It's an hour-long show, probably less. You have to buy them by 6:30, and then they send you a Zoom code to let you into the Zoom room to watch Marissa and Oscar perform the play from their various isolation bunkers. I was very close to doing it, but then I asked my wife, and she was like, meh. Beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. The more you toot, the better you feel. So eat beans in every meal. Yes.
Pretty much sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Is that Shakespeare?
It is. I used to teach playwriting to 12-year-olds in this Boston after-school program, and they only had one rule. Well, they were like, don't swear. They're 12. And so the way it works, and actually the first assignment for this class is taken from that. The way it would work would be the kid would tell you the play, and you, the playwright, would be the writer downer. So it was their play. They were making it up. You were just writing it down, and maybe you crafted it a little bit as you wrote it, right? So the big rule that I balked at was no fart jokes. Can't have fart jokes. And I was like, what's wrong with fart jokes? Fart jokes, there's a strong tradition of fart jokes in drama.
In Shakespeare,
There's fart jokes in Shakespeare.
And scatological jokes galore in Shakespeare.
So I started collecting fart jokes from classic literature and bringing them in over and over to my boss. I found that there's Aristophanes, the earliest fart joke in drama is Aristophanes the Frogs, where in fact it is the climax of the play, where he's surrounded by frogs. They are deafening him and driving him mad, and he rips a massive fart, and it surprises the frogs so much they all shut up, and he can continue. And my boss was like, I don't disagree with you, but here's the thing. They're 12. You let one fart joke in, every play is going to be all fart jokes. We tried it once. It was just fart jokes all night. They do the plays at the end. Everybody writes this little 15-minute play. And she was like, we had a whole night of fart jokes. The kids thought it was the best. The parents were appalled. So we made a rule that year, no fart jokes. And I was like, hey, okay. So there were no fart jokes. Speaking of Shakespeare, we have a new Write Club that is due on Thursday. I'll share the screen. Share. Write Club. This is the final Write Club. create a victory bark. You've seen a million of these. You know what they are. You just didn't know the name for it. A victory bark is, in a JRPG at least, when you finish a fight and that the last character does the killing blow against the monster, then that character holds up their impossibly gigantic sword and says, "For the dynasty," or whatever they say. We win. Um, if it's your cute healer, I think the enemy got the point. See, you're wasting these. Uh, the now I'm all discombobulated. So whatever it is they say at the end when they win, that's the victory bark. Okay. So you're going to create a victory bark for a JRPG. That's a Japanese role-playing game set in the world of Shakespeare. Imagine if 12-year-olds were all playing all of Shakespeare's characters. I thought I updated this. There. Characters from all of Shakespeare's plays are available to you, as well as anything in the sonnets. As ever, shorter is always better. If you don't know anything about Shakespeare, I despair of our youth. But use the internet all you like. Go watch some Shakespeare. The 12th Night at the Royal National website is very good. I also recommend Henry V. Let's see. Is Henry V available for screening? Let's see. The Kenneth Branagh. Looks like it can be had for $2.99 on Redbox. Other than that, Hoopla? What the heck is Hoopla? Why? What Hoopla? Anyway, ooh, look, Loki did Henry V. The Hollow Crown. That's the sequel, I guess. I don't know. But it is not available anywhere.
Stanley's question is, does it have to be exactly Shakespeare or just Shakespearean sounding?
Well, so getting back to this, the character. So you want to evoke a character, right? So the characters are all Shakespearean characters. So if you have something vaguely sounding, forsooth, and what now, huzzah? Who is that? Right? That is not, sure sounds Shakespearean, but it doesn't evoke a character, right? So you want to pick a character from Shakespeare, figure out what their victory bark would be, and then make that their victory bark. So the point here is to evoke character in 5 words or less, essentially. And instead of, sure, see, Stanley, see, you're already there. As usual, you can identify the character if you like, but if I can get who the character is from what they say, that's probably better, right? So, I'm even going to put in an example because this is low-hanging fruit. There we go. Right? You know who that is, right? In fact, I'm going to save that now. Save. That is Hamlet. To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
In
pretty much.
eyes to suffer the slings and arrows of foolish fortune. Ooh, well, I actually know more of that than I thought I knew. Or what is it? Oh, I used to have it memorized. Anyway, so go learn some Shakespeare. See, I'm secretly sliding in Shakespeare and Jane Austen and Disney in the middle of this class. Also, the final quiz is up. There were only 2 chapters of the transmedia book to be read for yesterday. And they're both really, really short. So I only did 4 questions instead of the usual 5. Read them because it's actually really good advice about how to use video in an ARG. So check that out and take the quiz, and then we'll be done with quizzes and write clubs. And of course, I didn't look over last week's write clubs, but I'll do that for Thursday. I guess that's my schedule now. So I wanted to start. Here we go. Let's see. I wanted to start by 4 p.m. Who do we got? Michael and Emily, and our head writer is so. Michael, I'm going to make you a co-host. Use your powers for good. There's Emily making you a co-host. Use your powers for good. And Xavier probably has a picture. Where's Xavier? There's Xavier. Hello, Xavier. You are now a co-host. Okay. So Xavier's the head writer, and we got our 2 producers. Could someone, one of the 3 of you, step up and talk us through the story such as it is right now? If there's a document, let me go to writing. Oh no, that's
There's a document in announcements.
in announcements. Okay. Announcements, Professor X, Docs, Google. I think I read this. Okay. So I will share it, Xavier.
Okay.
And you walk us through it. Tell us who everybody is and what's going on.
All right. So, let's see. Where should I start?
Actually, start with the plot.
With the plot? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's some backstory, but basically, as the player experiences it, basically, the rabbit hole will be a weird article in either tech news or something very similar. And weird in the sense that it's just a bunch of repeating phrases and it's just a bunch of nonsense. And then from that point, hopefully the player will think to contact the editor, and the I guess contact information will be very clearly displayed. And from there, when you reach out to the editor responds with some generated message of, hey, something weird is happening. Someone's changing all of our articles, something along those lines. And you take a look. He sends you like a link, and you like see what he's talking about. There's all this weird stuff that pops up. At some point along that bread trail, you get the contact information for another journalist on tech news or the equivalent, and you reach out to them for more information, and they tell you, hey, don't listen to the editor. he's been corrupted. I'll explain everything that I know. And he becomes your sidekick. You realize that the editor been is under the mind control of some uh, outside like evil thing. You don't know yet. It will be revealed. Um, Around this time, you start getting these weird glitches that oftentimes manifest in the form of like these pixelated fairies, and it's obviously pretty confusing. So you start researching more um, on fairies specifically, and within this time frame, uh, on one of the resources that's given by the journalist, a dialogue box will pop up saying, "What do you know?" And the anonymous person gives you some contact information. You get to talking with this person. It's this like fairy hunter hacker, um, who,
Troll hunter.
yeah, basically, and he's been watching the internet for activity, for who's if people are searching. So that's why he reached out, and basically, he's just trying to figure out if you know anything, and when he hears your situation, he offers some resources. Um, he becomes the mentor figure, because he's well versed in the lore of fairies. But at first, it kind of seems a little crazy because there's no, fairies aren't real, right? But then the player is directly approached by a fairy um, in their research, like digitally, and it explains, like it's talking to the player, and it explains that, like, uh, basically they're here to warn you, like they're here to warn whoever is like in peril of the danger that they're in. And he's like, "What do you mean?" And he explains that there's a cult that's trying to brainwash uh, people, I guess. It's not quite that broad, but they're basically trying to put subliminal messaging in media to gain support, and this fairy's here to warn you. So you start realizing, oh, the fairy hunter wasn't crazy like we thought. A bit eccentric, maybe, but uh, he holds a lot of information, actually. So then you're going through uh, some bread trail. We're detailing specifics a little bit here, but we're also nailing them down later.
Okay.
And
Broad
at
strokes.
yeah, at this point is where you come in direct contact with a cultist. Um, this will probably be in the form we were talking about of a ham radio broadcast, um, where they're broadcasting out to other cultists with some repeating message, some mantra, and it is probably one that you've seen before. Probably one that even goes back to the first article where it's weird and it's repeating stuff. It's probably one of the same mantras. Um, so you start following down this track, trying to find more about these people, and you're suddenly in the middle of a digital ritual. There's like a video of one or more hooded figures, and they're talking directly to the player, and basically about how they're going to, like, how you're going to ascend, um, and how you've been chosen, whatever, some cult stuff. And you're kind of trapped. You don't know what to do. You can't escape from this uh, digital ritual thing when you're saved by the goddess,
Woohoo.
aka the we haven't exactly decided what the role in the fairy community, but it's a fairy of royalty that has come to save you. They give you the final bit of knowledge, the last kind of links to help you find out everything you need to know about the cultist plan, what they're trying to do. And you, through this, you learn that they're using fairies, the magic of fairies, in order to upload themselves to the internet, where they can live forever and have infinite knowledge. And so they're obviously trying to gain followers to help them, not only to spread their cause, but also to be able to get more fairies. This is the end, I swear.
Okay.
So uh, you figure this out through the fairy, some way to defeat them, which is to some degree, we were brainstorming, maybe you create a literal doorway, like a digital like website doorway, where fairies can enter the internet so that they can't be hunted by the cultists. And that's how you kind of win, um, if you even win.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So first off, I'm just gonna. Did I tell you guys the story of the article that was going to go in the newspaper that was about lights over um, the quad, and then when it appeared in the newspaper, it was about a DDoS attack. Did I
Yeah,
tell?
you did.
Okay. So that was a scolding I got. Right.
Mhm.
That counts as scolding. Um, so so off the top of my head, I would say unless somebody in the class is the editor of Tech News, is somebody the editor of Tech News?
I don't think so. I thought someone had a contact, but we were also talking about, if that didn't work, using Reddit, um, of some kind,
Okay, well, you can
subreddit of that.
make up a WPI alternative paper, right? And
Okay.
say our first issue is going to tell the truth about what's really going on, or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, uh, so in general, if you use real people, um, they are heroic and awesome, because no one ever objects to being described as smart and capable and very good at their job. Whereas if you describe them as uh, uh, not good at their job and baffled and uh, doddering old fools, they get upset, and I get scolded, right?
Yeah.
So in general, if you're using anybody for real, they are amazing. Okay, so for instance, the WBI Tech News is the greatest newspaper ever. So that's why we should help, or they are part of this, right? Because no one is ever going to object to being. Yes, there is. It's called the Institute, the WPI satire newspaper, the Institute. Okay, so I understand the desire to connect to real things. Just when you do, then you run across other people's agendas, essentially.
Yeah.
So after that horrible NetOps baffled by uh, attack, Tech News like we used to be able to, they we wrote this story, it's totally untrue, will you publish it? And they were like, sure, it takes up column inches, awesome. And then after that they were like, yeah, no, we publish actual news, we don't publish stories. 1 year we did get control of the horoscope page, because their opinion that year was the horoscope is full of lies anyway, and it's unscientific, and no one reads it for anything but jokes. So put anything you want in the horoscopes, right? So, so that, just wanted to point that out. Just be aware of that. Next steps. I see you've started describing your characters. The next thing to take this to, in terms of characters, is everybody should have an assignment of which character you're working on. So you should give all these people names, right? Yeah. Give them their backstory. And the other thing you want to think about, because we're all online, is what is their digital footprint? Do they have a Twitter account? Are they on Instagram? Do they keep a Tumblr? What's their email address? Like my niece, she was a librarian, and her email address was oh, I don't want to tell you, but it was library related, right? But it wasn't her name, right? So it was Rockin' Librarian or something like that. It wasn't that, but so people have funny email names, which you can go to Gmail and get. So that's each character group should be working on, well, what is their digital footprint? And one of the things that you'll see often is we'll look, and the mentor, he's 50, and he's been keeping a blog since 1990, so it says in the blog, but the first entry is dated 2 weeks ago, right? Because, well, you guys started working on this 2 weeks ago. So yeah, LinkedIn. Some places have terms of service objections to fictional characters. I know Facebook does, but that doesn't stop anyone from making fictional characters on Facebook. A large number of my Facebook friends are fictional characters. And I get notified of their birthday, and I always wish them a happy birthday, because I know they're fictional. And every once in a while, some old student from 7 years ago is like, writes back as that person because they're still in control of the account. So anyway, so get them a digital presence and learn how to like backdate stuff, right? So if they've been keeping a diary online, go backdate crap. Twitter is not going to do backdating, but you can get started. And the usual, hey, I just discovered this Twitter thing. This is cool. Who should I follow? Right? Is what is your first tweet? Right? I wonder what my first tweet was. I have no idea. I think it's something like, hey, I just got on Twitter. So think in terms of digital presence. Next thing. So this looks good. This is a good start. You want to now break it down into days, right? And say what's going to happen each day. You might have already started that somewhere.
We actually finished it.
Oh,
There's
good.
also in announcements. There's the calendar for the story beats.
Okay, current story, ARG calendar. Woo! Oh, look at this. Oh my God, you're on top of things, you gang. Um, okay, so this
We
is
talked for like 2.5 hours. We better be on top of things.
yeah. Oh, you were all the like I was playing D&D online last night, and I just kept hearing Discord going boop 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 boop, and I had to mute everything. And I still don't think I got it all because it's now booping, but it should still be muted. So maybe it's the other class. I don't know. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, so these are the two. These are story beats, right? Story beat 1 and story beat 2, right? Um,
Yes, for
so
each day. Yeah.
so okay, so this is good for everybody else to know, and especially gameplay to start thinking about what your two gameplay activities are each day, and work with y'all. I know you were talking a lot about the ham radio stuff, and that's great. Um, just remember, that's one thing, right, out of 12. Um, so this has also happened in the past where people get or the team gets fixated on uh, on their one moment, uh, and that one moment is all planned and ready, but they in doing that they neglect the 5 moments leading up to that one moment. So just keep thinking about all the other activities. Xavier, I figured there would be a website or something for the cult because they're trying to gain followers and have a positive presence. Absolutely. So you got to talk to your tech people about websites, um, and how to do this glitch stuff, right? If there's glitched out stuff, how does that work, and how are you going to do the JavaScript of it all? Okay, I want to talk about tools. No, not that one. This one. So this is a site called Unfiction, which was the leading place for alternate reality gaming for years and years and years. The Unforum right here, which this thing is in tiny, tiny font, was where you hung out to talk about ARGs. It has gone defunct, the forum, because it was too large and too expensive to run for the guy who was running it, and he wanted out and nobody else would take it over, so it died. But uh, uh, the links and stuff are still here, and I want you to look at what's here at Unfiction, because this will give you some ideas, hopefully, about gameplay activities or puzzles. So one of the things that a lot of ARGs use are codes and ciphers. So here are all sorts of tools to translate or decode various codes and ciphers. That said, there are 3 different kinds of codes. The first is substitution code, and that's kind of the simplest. Well, it's not quite the simplest code, but that's where you substitute a letter for another letter, right? And the easiest or the oldest, I guess, um, uh, cipher of that type is known as the Caesar cipher, which is also known as ROT 13 or ROT 13, because you rotate the first 13 letters of the alphabet with the last 13 letters of the alphabet. So and this is very simple. This is the code. Well, this is what's called clear text, and this immediately substitutes a T for a G, an H for a U. But here's the thing with ROT 13, you can change it to ROT 17, you can change it to ROT 2. It's just what the shift is, right? Then you can also add in numbers, right? So you can say 0 to 9. You can tack it at the end of the alphabet, and then it becomes 36 divided by 2 rather than 26 divided by 2. And you can shift that. You can even add in punctuation, right? Or special characters, the ampersand, say. And then it becomes a little bit harder to decode because it's not just the alphabet you're shifting. You have to decide, well, are the numbers at the beginning of the alphabet or at the end of the alphabet? How is it shifted? And it's not all that hard to decode, but it gets somewhat harder. From there, there are all sorts of ciphers. The Vignere cipher is a method of encrypting alphabetical text with a series of interwoven Caesar ciphers. So, and again, here we go. This website, Decode, is amazing. It's got kind of every cipher on there. And you can get, let's go back to, there's the Vignere, there's the rail fence cipher, which is, you decide how big your rail fence is, and you go over one and down one. So we are discovered, flee at once is the plain text, but what you get is WECRLTEER. So that's not a substitution cipher. That's just rearranging letters. What that's called is steganography, which is making a cipher that has the code in plain sight. So one of the easiest, let's go to here. I made this last hour. This is the ciphertext. The answer here is clear to everyone. Please see the truth. Can you decode that? There you go. Everybody got it immediately because it's very simple. The code is buried there, and I just changed the colors of the letters. Let's see. Let's see if here's my website. Okay. See this? This.
No, we don't see it.
Oh, okay. So thank you. Share. Now do you see it? It's my.
Yes, we see it now.
Okay. Actually, let's go here.
Oh, it's such a nice photo of you.
That's recent.
That's a great photo.
I'm mad because for years, like, my last photo was actually a painting of me in the manner of Rembrandt, which my wife had done for one of my birthdays, and they said it wasn't formal enough, and I'm like, it's absolutely formal. It's just 1645 formal. What are you talking about? I have a rough. But they wouldn't leave it there. So anyway, I wrote this my bio, and I capitalized random letters throughout it. I wonder, somewhere I have the original text, and sent it in, and I said, there are strange letters capitalized throughout this. That is intentional. It has a hidden message. The message is benign. It's in fact, yeah. I think this. I honestly, I haven't looked here to see if they would actually change it. They might have changed it. Anyway, so it said there are messages everywhere in this text, and every once in a while, I'd get a message. I'd get an email that would say there are messages everywhere. Because it was steganography, and somebody would find it and get all excited that I had sent them a secret message, right? Another type, well, actually, let me play you the video. I'm going to stop the share. I now have 8 billion windows open. Okay, I'm going to close that. Where is the YouTube? That's not the YouTube. Okay, that's gone. I don't know. I lost the YouTube that I showed last time. Here we go. And now let me share this. Share and optimize screen. Okay, here we go.
Encrypting a message so that although everyone knows the message has been sent, they can't actually find out what it means. Whereas in steganography, we're trying to hide the fact that we sent a message at all. So a classic example would be if I was writing you a letter and then I wrote in invisible ink a whole different letter between the lines or on the other side or something like that. And only you knew that that was going to be there. So you get home and everyone else maybe looks at the letter and thinks, that's just not very interesting at all. And then of course you can uncover the secret message. Today we'll talk a bit about digital image steganography, because obviously there's a huge scope for hiding things in digital images. Images can be megabytes or more, and you can hide files of megabytes or more in them. But of course, as the amount of steganography in images has increased, so has the attempts to try and find it. So there's lots of statistical approaches to try and find these things as well. Perhaps the most simple form of steganography in an image is least significant bit steganography. So if we've got a bitmap of any kind, a PNG or a BMP, then we can change the lowest bits to be our message, and it'll have an almost imperceptible change on the actual way the image looks.
It's a bit like if I change the number 800,351, if I change the 1 or the 51 on that, it's not going to have a massive impact.
That's exactly right. But the number is so big that in the grand scheme of things it makes no difference. So generally speaking, we'll change, in the image, every single byte will change the last bit, or maybe the last 2 bits if we're really trying to cram in a lot of data. Every byte is 8 bits. We take the last 2 and change that to our message, in the hope that no one's going to notice. So for every byte, that's every 8 bits, 6 of them are the regular image, and 2 of them are our secret message. So a quarter of our message is now secret. So if we have a normal pixel, it's going to be 4 bytes long. So that's 1 byte. So for each byte, we're talking about the last 2 bits in that byte. So that could be a 1, we could change it to a 1, change it to a 0, or leave them both the same. And what we do is we read off our message. So let's say our message we're trying to encrypt is 101101, okay? We get to the first byte and we say, well, this is great. Our first 2 bytes are already 1 and 0, so we don't need to change anything at all. So that byte stays as it is. So we go to the next byte. So this will be maybe be red and this might be green in our pixel, okay? The last 2 bits of this byte are 0 and 1. The 2 we're trying to put in from our message are 1 and 1, so we change this one to a 1. So by changing that second least significant bit from 0 to 1, we've just increased this value by 2. And we're talking about one channel in a huge image changing by 2 levels is probably not going to be too noticeable. If we start changing the higher significance bits, then that might be a problem. All right, so I've written a program to do this.
Okay.
And
stop share. There are programs to do this steganography. There are easier ways, like you said. So, for instance, this is an envelope that I have. It came in the mail, and it looks perfectly blank. But I also have one of these, which is a UV light, flashlight, available at Amazon. Pack of 3 or 5 for $7. Pretty cool. Keep one with me at all times. And let's see. Oh, can you see that? Oh my God, there's a secret message. It says secret. Right? Very easy to do. I happen to also have a UV pen that writes in invisible UV ink. That's steganography. The art of disguising the fact that there is a message at all, whereas a code is, here's a message, but you don't know what it says. The substitution cipher is straight up substitution. Then the third way is mechanical or mathematical algorithms that turn one message into ciphertext. So the classic one, the Nazis came up with a good one called the Enigma machine, which we then cracked. It is a mechanical code machine where basically it is a bunch of wheels, and you position the wheels such that the wheels are attached to a typewriter. They're in between the keyboard and the final text. So I press an E and it goes into the black box and comes out on the other end as an R, right? And how does, it's not a simple rotation, because then the next time, the next letter I push is an F and it comes out a G. So essentially what it does is every time I push a key, it rotates these wheels, which changes the actual cipher. So every letter is in a different substitution cipher. And the geniuses at Bletchley Park, Alan Turing, eventually cracked the Enigma machine. There's also things like a book cipher, where I turn words into series of numbers, the numbers being a page, a line, and a word, right? And that's a very simple code, where I can take a book and 69 1 2 3 4 2 69 4 2 means heart, right? And that's great because I can quickly decipher it on the other end. And unless you know what book we're both using, you can't do it. 69 420. Oh, nice. So the big thing, a lot of times you'll see in dramas, right? The bad guys are saying, "What book is it?" Right? And unless you have the exact right book and edition, because let's face it, a first edition Ernest Hemingway, For Whom the Bell Tolls, is different from the paperback edition that came out in 1982, right? So the words will be on different pages and in different lines. So start thinking, and remember that codes are only one type of activity, but codes are a good activity, a good gameplay. They're good puzzles, coding and decoding things. The other thing we're always trying to do is make activities for different kinds of people. So generally codes are for math people in general, but not always, because the steganography codes might be kind of visual, right? Do I see the right colors? How do these things fit together? The algorithmic ones are math, but maybe there's a literature thing, a book code that applies to word people, right? So I think of three different kinds of players. I think of visual, word, and number people. And you want to mix up the activities to appeal to all kinds of people, right? How about the first letter? Everyone can see it. What? Just say it. You're not muted.
So what's the first letter? Oh, I forgot one. That's a simple one. Very simple, like not steganography. I don't know what this one's called, but you do, yeah. Thanks, Tusi. You saved my butt.
Hello?
Yeah.
The first letter?
Yeah,
I'm
the
still
first letter of
confused.
every sentence. You either use the first letter of every sentence or the
Oh,
last
yeah.
letter of every
That's
sentence.
down the. Oh, yeah, you're right. So, yeah, that's on the paragraph.
I'm sorry, I should have had another sentence starting with L, but it's a
Right.
very,
That's okay.
very
I get it.
simple-
So that's a form of steganography. Absolutely. And there are famous movie reviews where it's a mediocre movie, like it's a tepid, like, well, this wasn't great. This was, and along the edge, if you read down the first thing, this is the worst movie ever, right?
They pay me to say it's good, but it really sucks.
Right. So there's all sorts of that. So you can check out this. It's called decode.fr. It's got all sorts of codes and ciphers, and look in the unfiction online tools for, again, a whole bunch of tools that are everything from, like, how do you maps and locations, search 2,000 books, how do you do zip code finds, vigneres, cipher clerks, all sorts of stuff. So use the tools that are out there. Tomorrow, stop me at 4:30 so that we can do breakouts again, or not tomorrow, but Thursday, so that we can do breakouts. No matter where I am at 4:30, stop me so that we can talk. But you guys seem like you're beeping away in the Discord, so keep doing that. Don't get complacent. There's tons to do. Okay? I am overtime once again. How does this go? Like I start out going, well, I don't know, I'll just talk, and then I'm overtime. Okay, so have a good Wednesday. Wash your hands, and I will see you on Thursday.